Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. And today we're going to be talking about kombucha, and we're going to talk about 10 ways to use your over-fermented kombucha. So kombucha is just this amazing drink that I love. And this fermented tea has been around for centuries, and it's kind of a legend in many countries such as Korea, China, Russia. They even have stories that Genghis Khan drank it often and gave it to the men in his armies. It has a lot of mythical stuff around it too. But it became a part of my life very quickly. And that can happen to you. Once you start drinking it, you'll start wanting to make it. And the next thing you know, you'll have a brew fermenting on your counter. It's extremely inexpensive to make. And it's easy to make. You just need to know a few little things, which I have lots of tips and tricks on how to help you make kombucha. And in the link description I'll put my FAQs on kombucha in case you get questions. But one of the things that can happen quite often is that if you let it ferment too long, it gets a very strong vinegary taste. And actually what is happening is that it actually turns to vinegar over time if you leave it. And it will stay perfectly preserved like vinegar if you want to use kombucha as vinegar. But you really if you want to make kombucha tea and you really like it, it's best to not let it go that long so that it gets over fermented and tastes like vinegar. But if it does do that, I have 10 things you can do with this vinegary kombucha. And so don't throw it out. And let me go about all the 10 different ways that you can use kombucha. Okay, number 1. Okay, so you've made a batch. It's super strong. You don't want to drink it, but it works wonderfully well to use it as a strong starter tea for your next batch of kombucha. So even though it's vinegary, it will make your next batch faster and more quickly because it's so strong. So don't throw that super strong tea out. Use it as your starter tea. Store it in a glass container with a lid, or you can even use a cloth and rubber band if you want. Both are fine. And then you can use that as your starter tea for your future brews. And the stronger the tea, this is something about kombucha, the stronger the starter tea, the faster it will ferment. And so that's something good to know, because if you don't let your brew get very strong, it just takes your normal anywhere from 7 to 12 days, 14 if your house is cold or if you don't have a brew belt on your kombucha. That's normal. But when you get a really strong batch of starter tea, it can cut off 2 or 3 days off of the brewing thing because it's just so strong. So it ferments faster. So save it don't throw it out, save it for your next batch. Number 2, kombucha can be used as a household cleaner. I do this all the time. You can get your over-fermented kombucha and let's say you've got it saved in a glass jar with cloth and rubber band, then you kind of strain it to get some of the stringy stuff in there out. You can use a little strainer or a coffee filter and put that inside a strainer to strain out those little stringy things, and then use it as a household cleaner. And I have a recipe, and I'm going to link it in the description below. And you just put it in a spray bottle. And basically, it's a cup of kombucha that's really strong, 1 to 2 cups of water. Distilled water works kind of good because it is more pure. And then 1 squirt of dish soap. I like the Mrs. Meyer's dish soap that's natural and is organically friendly to the environment. And I just put a little squirt of it in there, and they have different kinds. They have different smells if you want to smell one that smells good. And then you can also do 10 drops of tea tree oil that helps clean, or another essential oil that you like. And then you just combine them all in a spray bottle and shake it gently. And you can use it on your countertops, your bathtubs, your sinks, and more. Keep it out of the sunlight when you store it, but it will just last in that bottle for a very, very long time. And it is great as a cleaner. Okay, number 3. use this to make apple scrap kombucha or apple scrap vinegar, not kombucha. So don't throw away the cores of your apple. Save those little scraps. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to get a jar and you're going to put those little apple cores in the jar. And then you're going to get some honey. And you're going to do about 2 tablespoons of honey. And then 1/4 cup of kombucha. And then 3.5 cups of water. And then you want a Scobie that you have left over. You can rip up one that you have in your jar. But it helps to have it fit the top of the jar. And then what you do is you put those cores into the jar with all these other ingredients, and you put a cloth and rubber band on top and allow it to ferment, and you're going to get this delicious kind of like apple cider vinegar. And you'll also have a vinegar Scobie on top, so you can discard it or strain it out with the apple peelings and cores. It works wonderful in your gardens. And then you just strain the liquid into a mason jar. Usually I strain it with a strainer and put a cloth and rubber band on it, and you've got some delicious apple-flavored vinegar that kind of tastes like apple cider vinegar, but has a little bit better taste, I think. It's really, really good. And I'm going to link the recipe description below. You'll see that all of these recipes on there. Now, another one that I absolutely love to make all the time, and I like it, it's a marinade that you can use for fish or chicken, beef, or veggies. And it's loaded with fresh herbs, spices, jalapenos, olive oil, garlic, ginger, and you use a little bit of kombucha vinegar, which is what your starter tea is. And then you mix this all together, marinate it for a few hours, and you will love the way it tenderizes your meats, but also it makes veggies taste really, really, really delicious. And it has a lot of flavor to it. It's very spicy. It's got some Dijon mustard in it, olive oil, fermented garlic, ginger, jalapeno peppers, Celtic sea salt, then the kombucha, the vinegar or the strong starter tea that you can even use the apple scrap kombucha if you made some of that. You put a little chili powder, cilantro, parsley, oregano, and like a tablespoon of coconut sugar. And it is a wonderful marinade. And you can marinate or put it over your veggies and meat. And it's fabulous. It tastes wonderful. I use it all the time. And it's really fun to make too. I really enjoy making it because it tastes so good. So that's number 4. Number 5, Scobie hotels. Now, what happens every single time you make kombucha tea, you're going to get a new Scobie that's going to form on top. And that Scobie is going to be the size of your jar. It doesn't matter what it was. It's really funny because I had a woman came to my class and she made her kombucha. I'm not sure how she got a cloth to go around this, but she made it a punch bowl. And she made a Scobie the size of that punch bowl. It was huge. And she was shocked. She didn't think it would do that. But she had a big, huge Scobie. So you're going to get a new Scobie every single week. And what you could do, a lot of people get these, they save their Scobies in a jar and they call it a Scobie hotel. So you stack them up in the jar and they've got all these different sizes, shapes. It's kind of interesting to look at. But so you have all these Scobies. I have this really cool article and it's got 20 ways to use your kombucha Scobies. And there's 20 different things you can do because you're going to get a new Scobie every week. So you might as well figure out what to do with it. Now, there are benefits to eating a kombucha Scobie, but you got to blend it up, your puree, like in a food processor or blender. Because kombucha Scobies are packed with glucosamine, which helps prevent joint damage by supporting the preservation of collagen. And especially it does this by increasing hyaluronic acid, which is very important for the lubrication of your joints. So when joints are better able to move, the collagen doesn't wear down as much. And these Scobies and kombucha actually is a very healing drink for all parts of the body. The Scobie is made up of cellulose, which is long strands of linked glucose, which is an insoluble fiber. And it doesn't have any calories and it absorbs water, so it passes easily through your stools if you eat it, because I have all kinds of recipes for this, guys. It aids in waste removal from the body, including metabolic waste normally excreted in bile, so it helps with that. It has lots of insoluble fiber, which is mostly lacking in our diets. So it helps lower cholesterol by absorbing excess cholesterol from the bloodstream. It slows the absorption of sugars and really does help normalize some of your blood sugars because of the large amount of fiber and glucosamine that's in it that's so good for you. It's pretty impressive, right? It's really interesting because it kind of adds a gelatin-like consistency to many recipes. And my daughter has come up with these recipes that at first I thought she'd lost her mind, but they're really good. And she's made a raw Scobie cookie dough, which you can't taste it in there. It has no taste. And she's done applesauce and one of my favorite is the slushy she made. I love the slushy. It's really good. And so I know this sounds crazy, but you'll be surprised how much fun it is. We've got date balls and all kinds of recipes to do things with these Scobies. You can make a brown sugar Scobie scrub for your face. It's really, really good because of the collagen or the that's in it, the glucosamine. It helps to preserve the collagen in your face. We've got a Scobie garlic dressing. We've got things for your garden. Your chicken and your goats love them. And we've got 20 different ways, and I'll link that below too. So Scobies are fun. They're fun, and there's all kinds of things you can do with them. So if you get a bunch, don't throw them away. There's a lot of good uses for them. And check out my article, and you'll learn 20 different ways you can use them. Okay, number 6, use as a facial toner. Okay, so I've been seeing some of these toners that have kombucha in them for $80 a bottle now that they've got. I had one lady come to my class and said she had this spot on her face that she had prior to drinking kombucha. She'd had a spot on her face that was, they said was precancerous cells, melanoma on her skin, and they'd had it removed. And she noticed another one was forming, but was kind of looking different. And she was worried about it, but she had just started drinking kombucha, so she took it and put it on her face as a toner. Now, this is all anecdotal. I'm not claiming it does this, but she did. And she said after about a couple weeks of just dabbing some kombucha on her face, it went away. So that's what she said. I don't know. I don't have any kind of research on that yet, but I do know that there's a lot of companies, very nice company. I think one of them is called Fresh, has got a kombucha toner in it or I think it was a toner. It's like $80 and people love it. So I know that it's good for the skin. I myself have used it on my skin and it works very, very well. And it's super fun. It's super fun to use and just dab it on, but we made an actual toner. It's very refreshing after sunbathing, after you've been in the sun or had a little bit of damage to your skin. And it's just basically, dabbing kombucha on your face. We put little drops of tea tree oil on there too to just give it a little bit of more of an astringent kick if you've got oily skin. But you can just use the kombucha plain and dab it on your skin, and that works really, really, really well. So number 7, make a probiotic water with this kombucha. You can use some of your overly fermented kombucha to make a drink with water, ginger, lemon, and some kind of sweetener like stevia or monk fruit, whichever one you like. You can use coconut sugar or honey. And they call this drink they used to serve to cowboys or field hands on a hot day to quench their thirst. And they would normally put vinegar, like apple cider vinegar in it with water, ginger, lemon, and some kind of sweetener. And it's really, really refreshing. It's really good. But you can use it with your over-fermented kombucha because it kind of tastes like vinegar and it's so good for you. It has probiotics in it. And it's a really refreshing drink. You'd be surprised. And a lot of people are drinking and taking apple cider vinegar in drinks, and they actually are popping up everywhere in stores. So they're very similar to kombucha, but they're different. They don't have as many probiotics as kombucha does. But if your kombucha is too sour and tart and tastes like vinegar, I highly recommend you try this probiotic water because it's really good for you. It helps your body in many ways. It helps with blood sugar things. It's wonderful to have with a meal or in between meals. And it gives you ginger, which is a incredible root compound that is just so good for you. And I've written many articles about ginger because I love it so much. And then lemon is always filled with vitamin C and is, one of the things that helps cleanse your liver. And then you add a little bit of the kombucha vinegar in it, and that's got probiotics in it, and especially good, powerful probiotic yeast. And it will be a really welcome addition to your day when you're kind of needing like a pickup, sometimes in the afternoon when, things you kind of get to where you kind of need something. A lot of people reach for coffee. This is a fantastic replacement, probiotic water. So, okay, number 8. Now, basically what you do is just use this kombucha just like you would any vinegar. You basically got a vinegar bottle here if you've had over-fermented kombucha. So just bottle it, put it in a bottle, store it in your pantry, and use it just like you would for anything, any recipe that calls for vinegar. It works the same. And it's pretty delicious, and it just works fabulous for, you won't have to buy vinegar anymore if you over-ferment your kombucha. So, and it will last just like vinegar in your cupboard. So now, one of my favorite uses for over-fermented kombucha is Kombucha Mayo. Kombucha Mayo is just absolutely my favorite compound. I make it in 20 seconds in a jar, and kombucha mayonnaise in the stores is terrible for you. They use the worst oils. Soybean oil is usually the main one they use. It's really, really, really hard to find one that doesn't have soybean oil in it, or canola or vegetable oils. And this mayo, I use either olive oil or avocado oil, and you stick it in a jar, some egg yolks and some spices, and you stick an immersion blender in there, and in 20 seconds you have mayonnaise, and it is super delicious, and it has a wonderful taste that you'll quit making. Or buying regular mayo because it's so crazy good and it's super easy to make. You can flavor it. Like my kids like to put sriracha inside the mayo, and so I have jars of sriracha mayo and I have plain mayo, and then I have like a Mexican type mayo, like a spicy one that was from Mexican type foods and stuff. It's delicious, and it's 20 seconds, guys. It'll change your whole life. So check that out. Okay, so the last one, the one I probably use the most often, is I do a lot of kombucha salad dressings. And I've got 4 salad dressings that I use this kombucha vinegar type stuff to make dressings with. I have an apple kefir dressing that's delicious. I actually had that a couple days ago. It's really good. I have a kind of like a Thousand Island, but I call it Billion Biotic land dressing. That's basically Thousand Island dressing. You guys, and these take like 5 minutes to make. I have a fermented French dressing, which I love. I love to put this on taco salad. It's really good. It's one of my favorite things. And I have a lemon kefir dressing that is delicious. I've put it on several salads. I got a bunch of salad recipes and dressing recipes. But all of those are made with overly strong kombucha. And they're delicious. They're fun. I'm going to link it all in the description below. You'll love them. So if you over-ferment your kombucha, check out my article because you'll see all the different ways you can use it. Don't throw it out. There's a lot of ways to use it. There's a lot of things and it can stay preserved for years. It does, it's all those good bacteria and yeast that are in there preserve and the vinegar compounds make it a very stable product. So it's not like you've got to have room in your fridge for it. So thanks for listening, guys, and we will talk to you next week. But don't throw out your kombucha. You can use it for a lot of different things. Thanks for listening, guys.